According to KISS manager Doc McGee, he says that for this final ever show, all living former members of the band have been approached about taking part. This includes, obviously, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss.
Okay, the problem there is Ace, as of 3 days ago, told me he has not been approached about anything and knows nothing. I don't know what's going on with Peter, and Vinnie Vincent was in the press recently saying he also has not been approached, and I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that Vinnie Vincent is a part of it. I heard my friend Dean Del Rey has a podcast, and his 500th episode, he had Paul Stanley on, and I've heard this many times in interviews with Paul. You can't even talk to him about Vinnie Vincent. He won't even go there. He won't even talk about him. So I think you're dreaming if anyone thinks Vinnie Vincent's involved. Hope I'm wrong, but that's what I think at this point. And I think that, and look, KISS has been doing this since they started this farewell tour, which is going to go for 3 or 4 years at this point. They've been throwing out that line. Well, Ace and Peter are invited, of course. We never did invite them, and they can come play with us anytime. That's utter nonsense. That's just a way of deflecting that question and getting the fans pacified. I've said this so many times. So what? Are Ace and Peter supposed to just show up at a random gig and knock on the back door with their guitar or drumsticks and say, can we come in and play? Come on. So yes, it's easy and convenient to tell the press and say that, gets the fans excited. Ooh, maybe this will be the show they show up. I better buy tickets. I mean, do I think that it's somewhere between now and at the end of all this, Ace and or Peter may show up at maybe the very last gig? They work something out with them? Possibly. I don't think it's out of the question. But Doc himself, in the same interview, by the way, that Ed is referencing, also said something I've been saying forever. The makeup is an issue. Doc himself said that. You have the issue of the makeup. Yeah, it's a huge issue. Because Peter and Ace are not going to stand there on a stage looking at guys dressed as them. And again, that's another reason why, as a fan, I think it's been utterly wrong that they went down that road, but they made that decision, and that's an obstacle now. But Doc himself, the manager of the band, acknowledged in an interview I read, well, there's a makeup issue because you can't have 2 spacemen and 2 catmen, meaning 2 Ace Frehleys and 2 Peter Crisses. Let's call it what it is. So do I think that something somewhere before they put a button on this thing all works out, where at least they come out for a song or a bow or something? Sure. I think it would be tragic if it didn't. But then again, I thought it was tragic that KISS didn't play with them at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that fell squarely on Paul and Gene not wanting to do it. That was tragic for KISS fans who wanted that moment so badly that for a couple songs they wouldn't agree to play with those guys. So anything's possible here. I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other, but the idea of, well, they could pop up at any show. Sure, that serves KISS well, trying to sell tickets. Hey, maybe this is the show. You know how many people I talked to who went to the Garden or Long Island? Hey, Ace or Peter, that's home area. They may be there. Come on. You throw that out there, you dangle that carrot, sure, it gets people talking. Meanwhile, these guys are sitting at home, have no idea what anyone's talking about. Bruce Kulick? Easy. Bruce never wore makeup. Bruce can, easily has already been plugged in and out of there on the cruises and stuff. So there's no issue there. But the other side of it, it's an issue. Now, as far as that last show, it's a ways down the line. I've heard speculation that it's going to be at one of the two baseball stadiums. People speculating it could be at Central Park. I think that, I think that a lot is going to come down to what they're able to announce as a commitment. Meaning, if they want to do a huge splash final thing in New York, they've got to be able to announce and say definitively in the press, yes, Ace and Peter are playing with us. And the only way you're able to do that is if you make go circle back to what I just said about business and reunions. Tie it all together, folks. The only way you can market someone as 100% being there and sell tickets based on it is if you have a deal with them, meaning you have a contract and business and money sorted out. Because it's a business. So in order to do that, in order to go do some massive show in some huge space, you're going to need a lot of icing on that cake. And if you're going to go bring ex-members back, you're going to have an ironclad deal in place with them, rehearsals and arrangement. You can't just say, well, sure, Ace and Peter are welcome to show up. Like they're going to show up at a final show, unrehearsed, not having played with those guys forever. Hey, let's get up and jam one. Come on. You know you got to have a contract. You know you got to have rehearsals. You know you got to have a deal in place. There's just so much nonsense out there about all this stuff. And I'll give you one. Hypothetically, say that this show, because they didn't announce the venue or anything, because I'm sure that they can't commit to the venue until they know if they're going to be able to have a deal with ex-members, because you can't go play a stadium without having some extra meat on the bone. Let's be honest. You think Kiss, after 3.5 years of playing with this lineup around the world, going through every city 2-3 times, just because it's the last show, can suddenly go do a stadium as a headliner? They're going to need something more. Granted, they're brilliant marketers. They're brilliant hype guys. But you're going to need something more to do that. So I'm sure that until they know what they're going to be able to do, they can't really commit to how big the venue is going to be. But here's one I'll give you, which I'd be shocked to see if it happened, but it would be nice. Considering if you're a Kiss fan like me, you know over the decades you've given this band countless thousands of dollars in various versions, lineups, merch, whatever. How about you play Central Park and you make it a free show? Now, the likelihood of that, knowing that Gene Simmons spells the S in his name with a $, probably pretty remote. But for almost 50 years, the band's been saying the fans are the bosses and it's all for the fans. Bet the last time you ever play, it's free and open to everybody. That would be a gesture. And if you did that, you could go into something like Central Park. You couldn't do that in a stadium with, reserved seating, but you could go into a place like Central Park, put up a stage. Anybody wants to show up, shows up. And that also alleviates the pressure of, if you can't make deals with Ace and Peter, to make it more of an event, because if you're not paying, then anybody can just wander in there and you can make it look like a spectacle. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. These are all things I'm just thinking of, speculating on. Still a ways down the road. Beyond the date, we know nothing for sure, and they may not either at this point.